Hey everybody, Professor Steviano here again, and I wanted to speak a little bit about what Chris Wallace could have done in that pretty terrible debate that we saw last week, the first of the presidential debates of 2020, spiraled out of control. And although the Commission on Presidential Debates said he acted very professionally, I wonder if he did everything he could have done in order to make the debate go smoothly. Let's talk a little bit about presidential debate moderators and the role of a moderator in debate in general. So in presidential debate, the role of the moderator is they always pick a very seasoned journalist. And the Commission on Presidential Debates has never once explained or given reasons or articulated why they pick a seasoned national television journalist or national newspaper journalist to moderate the debates. What's the connection between being an excellent journalist and being good at moderating a debate? I don't really know. If I was to give them the benefit of the doubt, I would say the Commission on Presidential Debates is probably thinking that, a journalist isn't scared of big national figures. They interview them, and they're not intimidated. They're around these kind of people all the time. So maybe it's something like that. It could be that maybe they know how to phrase journalistic questions. Maybe that's it. Chris Wallace has hosted on Fox for a very long time. He's interviewed a ton of different people. Maybe he knows how to make good questions. But a good journalistic question is not a good question for debate. In fact, in all of the debate literature, which the Commission on Presidential Debates has not read and is not interested in studying, because they want to serve an event that helps the parties out, not necessarily us, they don't mention anything about formal debate structure or theories of debate or what a debate is meant to accomplish. They just assume debate is good, and they say very little else about it. So a journalist is not necessarily well positioned to come up with a good debate topic. Journalists deal in controversy. Yes, that's true. But is debate about controversy? What's the relationship of controversy to debate? Sometimes we debate things that are not very controversial at all, or we debate things that are controversial and we realize the debate's really about something else. Like we might debate a policy, and it might end up being that, actually we're not really fighting about this. What we're debating about is the philosophy of what's the best way to run the country or to run this organization. Most of the debates you probably have are with work or family, where you're going against somebody else on an issue or on a choice, and you have lots of good reasons, and they have lots of good reasons, but neither of you are really making the full decision. You're doing it for an audience, which is why I picked this picture here. The debate is not for the moderator or for the candidates, it's for the audience. And that audience is not the entire audience at all. That's just the in-person audience. And what we need is to realize there's a global audience through television and the internet watching this debate as well. So moderators are often, in the way I think about them in debate, is they're there to make sure that debate occurs. Not to cut people off and not to shut things down, but to provide a space for them to talk and to provide things that are interesting enough to get people to create discourse about them. So Wallace kind of failed on that point because his questions had a paragraph in front of them and then some kind of very simple question of, do you think this should happen, yes or no? And that doesn't really generate a lot of good debate. There were two questions he had that I thought were pretty decent. One was about the Breonna Taylor situation or incident or case, where he said something like, do you think that, I don't have the wording in front of me, but it was something like, do you think that it's possible to get equal justice in America today? And I think that's a great debating question because that really opens it up to the candidates to provide their own reasons and explanations and examples rather than, do you think the Breonna Taylor case was settled correctly, yes or no? That's more of a binary. It doesn't really create for a very good debate at all. So what we want in a debate is, since it's for us as the audience, which I think Wallace and the CPD don't think I think Wallace thinks it's for making a good news program and meeting some kind of journalistic standards or values. And that's fine. And the CPD thinks it's for exposing people to the parties and the differences in the parties to kind of motivate them to go support one party or another. And that's fine too. But neither of these goals are the goals of debate, nor should they all be the same goals. But if we're having a debate, we should subvert these other goals or these other ways of looking at things to the goals of debate, which is to point out that we don't know everything, to make us question the assumptions we walk into a room with, and to make us rethink and re-articulate the commitments that we hold. That's the value and importance of debating. So when these questions, what was the other? I didn't say the other question he asked that I thought was good, which was the one about, there's the one about Breonna Taylor, and then there was another one he asked that I thought was pretty good. That was pretty open-ended. But his very first question about Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation to the Supreme Court, it would have been better to phrase that instead of should this go forward to what makes a good Supreme Court justice? How does a president decide who should sit in the highest court in the land? That's a great debate question for these purposes. It's not perfect. It's not what a good debate question ought to look like at all, but it's good for these sort of malformed, kind of pathetic events. It's better than what he offered. So now let's take it to what Wallace did in the debate, now that we've talked a little bit about the ideas of the debate moderator. In the debate, Wallace did a lot of talking trying to get Donald Trump to be quiet. He's continuously doing that. So I don't know if anybody's timed it, but it seemed like a significant amount of minutes in a very short amount of time were consumed by him trying to get Donald Trump to be quiet and let him finish his questions and things like that. He could have just realized this and not given the context and just asked the question straight away and not have given these long preambles. I think he was preparing for more of a news panel discussion show like Meet the Press and not for a debate where it's less about him talking. It's much more about them talking. And I do realize he was trying to get Donald Trump to stop interrupting Joe Biden and for Joe Biden to not go back and interrupt because he thought, well, he did it, I should be able to do it too, which is, I should probably make another video about Joe Biden's mistakes and Donald Trump's mistakes as well. But he shouldn't play that game with the candidates. He should ask the question as quickly as possible and then step out of the way. Like a good referee in sports, you want to give them space to play and only call the foul after the play has been made. That way, they're producing discourse that's actually useful to the audience and useful to people who are trying to decide, and not discourse that's about the rules or who's breaking the rules or we have to have an orderly event. No, we really don't. We have to have an event that helps people. And it might not be Chris Wallace's notion of order or the Commission on Presidential Debates notion of order. So he could have asked shorter questions. I think that's one thing he did wrong was he didn't abandon his question asking style when it was obvious it wasn't going to work for President Trump, that he was just going to jump right in, assume the question, and just start talking. The second thing he could have done, he didn't address the camera very much when he was fighting with the president. One of the things he could have done as moderator is realize that he's a conduit between us and the event. And what he could have done there is he could have said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry, but as moderator, I have to point out that the president has gone over time. He's interrupted, and he's not allowing the moderator to finish the questions. This is highly disruptive of the debate, and I apologize. He never really did that. He kind of forgot about that. He thought he was there to wrangle them, and you can't really do that, especially with the president or somebody like Joe Biden. It's tough. These people are used to being the most powerful person in any room they walk into and not being told to be quiet or anything like that. Even before they reached high office, they were powerful people like this, or they probably thought of themselves that way. So that was a big mistake. He should have talked more to the camera about why the rules were the way they are, let them ramble and rant, and said, look, I'm very sorry. I'm going to have to pause for a second until I can maintain order here in the debate. And then just not engage at all and just sit there and let everybody blather on for a bit and say, okay, now that there's some order, I would like to ask my question, please. And that would be a good way to moderate with personality types like this. But again, Wallace is not a moderator. He has little to no experience with debate. He's read probably zero about it. He's a journalist, and he's very good at interviewing and handling strong personalities when it's an interview. But this is not an interview. And there's absolutely no proper analogy to interviewing here that would make the debate work. So his technique of doing what he would do in an interview when an interview goes out of control was not a good option, I don't think. The last thing he could have done, and probably the most dramatic thing he could have done, is said, I was hired here to moderate the debate, to serve as the moderator. You're not permitting me to do that. You violated every rule that your campaign said you would follow. You violated every rule that I was given from the Commission on Presidential Debates of what this night would be like, what I'm able to do. And so I cannot moderate this debate. And he should have walked off the set. Now, He's never going to do that because these journalists like camera time too much. They like to be in the spotlight too much. But think about the powerful message that would send if the moderator decided to walk off the set. They would say, this is no longer a debate. What am I doing here? I'm leaving. And they get up and go. That puts debate on a pedestal way above any of the games playing, any of the gamesmanship, any of the politics set in it, and says, we have a higher standard here when we call something a debate. We have a much more serious charge to provide a good debate than we do the right answer or the facts or the truth. We're providing principles and perspective. Candidates are articulating how they feel and how they think so that we can make a better decision. That's the purpose of a debate. Not to get to the truth, not to get to the right answer, not to say what I would really do as president, none of that. But here's how I feel and think about the most important issues for all of us who share this country and this world together. That's what should be held to the highest value. And I think it would have been an act of amazing professionalism and amazing, amazing support to the country if Chris Wallace had walked off of that set saying, I cannot moderate this when none of the participants will follow the rules, and just walk off. Backstage, he can talk to the Commission on Presidential Debate officials and try to figure out what could be done next. But in that moment, he had that powerful symbolic action available to him. But since he's not holding up debate very high, or maybe he has a twisted view that he can somehow wrangle these people under control, but if they've already violated every rule they agreed to doing, how can he possibly maintain order? So those are my thoughts. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about Chris Wallace's moderation. We have the vice presidential debate this week. And then if everyone's well, another presidential debate a week after that. It might not happen with the coronavirus sweeping its way through the White House right now. But hopefully it will. Hopefully they'll figure out some way to do it and we can talk more about it. But let me know in the comments what you think a moderator's role is. And what do you think about my 3 things that Chris Wallace did wrong or could have done better? Shorter questions, talk to the camera more, talk to the audience more about the role of moderator and apologizing to the audience for the actions of the debaters, or walking off the set to make a statement that debate can't be compromised. It's too important to the nation. Let me put up my contact info here for you so you can see my website, Twitter. You can get me on Twitter or on Instagram. Let me know what you think. I'd be happy to answer questions or discuss your comments. And I look forward to what you have to say about Chris Wallace's moderating job.